Hey everybody, welcome to this Thursday episode of Crypto with Chris. This one's going to be kind of fun and totally off the cuff. I had zero time to prepare for this. I've actually been out all day and just walked back in the door about 4 minutes ago. So I ran in, sat down in front of my computer, pulled up my streaming software, and basically hit go. So we're going to kind of just dig into these charts together and see what I see and go from there. So yeah, whatever the reminders, I'm going to get into that. Follow my stuff. You know what to do. Descriptions or the links are in the descriptions. All right. Let's look at the weekly here. So kind of like I touched on Monday. Well, first of all, I remember saying on Monday, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see us back below this resistance or level right here, support resistance level right here, horizontal level, if you will. So far, it's serving as support, which I was a little surprised to see, but nevertheless, basically it's come up and has been rejected off the top of this bull market support band. It did wick above it, as we can see, quite a bit, and we'll get into the daily here in a second. But then basically it came back down and touched off the bottom at this level here, and then has subsequently bounced a little bit on the daily time frame. And then we can see also an uptick in liquidity here a little bit too. I kind of think this is more just noise, which I'm betting when we kind of get into some of the other macro charts here in a second, that'll confirm that. But really, this it's just a bit of reflexive stuff. It's just kind of a bit of technical stuff. I'm not really seeing it. I haven't seen anything over the last week in just doing my research that would indicate there's any kind of a macro shift underway or anything like that. So far, I feel like we're just kind of trodden along, basically. And yeah, so again, on the weekly level, this doesn't look great. This basically just looks like we bounced up, we kind of retested the bull market support band, we wicked above it a bit, and then ultimately are being rejected by it. Now, yeah, we're holding this level of support on the downside, and that's good. But really we're sort of stuck between these two spots right here. And if we look at it on the daily, then I mean, yeah, that's, again, more of the same. Though interesting, we still have this this held. So this sell signal, this 3 flag bearish divergence signal has held. It hasn't moved or gone away or done anything. So that's one thing to note. And yeah, basically here we are, just kind of stuck right in between these two bands, holding support, range bound, whatever. And then we've had, looks like a few days worth of uptick in liquidity, but there's not been any kind of, like I said, fundamental shift in Fed policy. This could just be a product of moving some money around, of doing things. It might not even be the US. It could be other, granted there's 5 banks that make up this. So there's any number of things that could come into play that would cause this number to go up. So yeah. And actually let's take a look at like the dollar index. Interesting bond yields have. So yeah, dollar is down. Dollar maybe has peaked temporarily, but we know that these peaks can be short-lived. I mean, yeah, even this wasn't very much and only lasted, a few days, and then it was just business as usual. And then we had a few days here, we had 1 day here. So we're on a 2-day sort of correction right now, and which may only get us back to this previous high, which would kind of make sense. So this here, let me get rid of some of this. Get rid of this. So yeah, basically this level I had set just based on the top of this wick right here, which was the previous high. So it's come back down, or it's come up, it's blown through there. It did come back down to retest it briefly. It wicked down through it, and then it's coming up again. Maybe it just comes back down to this level again, which wouldn't be much of a correction at all, which it could do today or even, tomorrow, something like that. And then it could just be right back up, kind of like it did a test here. It came back when it went above the bull market support band, came back down, retested it. It looked like it was, headed down and just boom, blasted right on and kept going. So I'm not going to really, I want to see this on the weekly. Let's look at this on the weekly. That's going to be the kicker for me. And yeah, right now it definitely looks. So what I'm seeing, one thing that I'm seeing for sure is initially in this big run, we were having huge wicks to the downside, but it was closing strong. And now we've got 2 big wicks to the upside. This is sort of reversed. So this is telling me that, it's starting to lose lose momentum, which probably also means why we got this signal. I wonder what it would look like with a Heikin-Ashi candle. What would that look like? Let's see. Well, okay. Still, we're seeing bigger and bigger wicks, I guess, to the upside. So yeah, and there's a lot of people I know that I engage with that are all but certain that this run is tapped out. You know, it's got to be done. It's just it's cooked, and it's going to reverse hard, and it's going to set new lows. I'm not yet convinced of that, only because I feel like, you know, what's driving this it's not like TA is driving this. Like when you look at a Bitcoin chart, it's you know, sellers are exhausted kind of thing. This isn't reflective of like, you know, the general masses and that kind of thing. This is more reflective of Fed policy and things like that. And that hasn't changed. And so, yeah, so we're seeing, I got this other chart. I didn't make this chart. Another friend of mine in the Discord made it. But yeah, look at this. Like, yes, liquidity has gone up, but bonds are just continuing to go insane. They're just surging. And so I feel like this is going to kind of have more influence than this is. And I have a feeling that this is just kind of a short-term thing, and this is going to likely reverse and continue back downwards. And that's going to, you know, this is going to, my take is this will continue upwards a little bit longer, or if it does correct, it might only come down and correct for a couple of days, week tops. It might come back down, settle on this line right here, and then resume upwards. So yeah, we might get a bit of an upside pump in Bitcoin. Maybe it goes up, maybe it even retests. It punches up into this area here. I definitely don't think it's going to set a new high. I'm thinking maybe 30K tops, probably more like 28 or 29. Because even at 29, you start getting up into this bunch here. Like if we look at a VPVR, you know, graph, yeah, you're going to run into a ton of pressure right here. Basically, it's like, yeah, we got a big gap in between here and there for sure. At least over the last, well, let's kind of make the range a little bit longer. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's filled in a bit, but basically this is sort of the big level, and that's really only 29,000. So it's going to run into some heavy resistance there. Actually, let's take this. I got this other one, order blocks. Yeah, it's going to run into some selling pressure here for sure too. So again, I struggle to see it really punching up through this. It would take a massive shift in market, you know, for this to kind of continue. And right now it's even struggling just closing above this bull market support band here. So, I'm just not seeing like a major move to the upside. I'm seeing maybe a punch up in here and then, you know, a wick back down. Now, the question though is on the downside, it's done really well. Like it's held support here. It's even holding support here now. You could argue, you know, I drew this candle or this line. Actually, if we go, I think to, was this? No, this, once again, too many charts. One of these. I don't remember which one. Maybe I deleted it. Anyway, I drew this line going way back, I think to this candle here. Yeah. Right here. So this has been like that support resistance horizontal level that I think has been key. And you could even argue like, oops, keep that one. Get rid of that one. So like you could tweak this line slightly. Like if you change it to the weekly, what do we got here on the weekly? Or maybe it's the monthly. Yeah, monthly. So like you could argue you could move this line up to like these candles here. What would that look like? Just, oops. Just kind of. So yeah, this is clearly proven to be a big level here. So if we change this back to the daily, Yeah, I mean, it's still obviously it coincides right here. It still matches up very well. It matches up with these wicks here. It still holds this. And then if we kind of go back and look at it throughout here, I mean, it's basically the same thing. It doesn't matter. It's the same level. So I'll put it back where it was. But yeah, just my point being, this was a clearly defined level on several time frames, monthly being, I think, the most important. And so yeah, again, right now it's holding as support, which it can't really say for these last two, breaks above it, which is worth noting. But right now, it's all you can do is go, well, it is what it is until it isn't. And so right now it's punching up and it's being resisted by the top of this band. It's sort of stuck in this range here. And we just have to kind of wait and see what happens next. So that's kind of how I base all of my TA. I think it is what it is until it isn't. It's an uptrend until proven otherwise. It's a downtrend until proven otherwise. Right now, it's a downtrend until proven otherwise. It's trying to prove otherwise in the moment, even as we speak, but it hasn't yet. And so, and trends get tested all the time and don't break. And so until it happens, you just have to kind of, hold your bias and be patient and wait for things to unfold. So, yeah, let's see. I wanted to look at a couple other things here. Bitcoin ETH was interesting, or ETH Bitcoin. So actually, let's look at this first. ETH dominance, or Bitcoin dominance rather, has really punched up, I've noticed lately. Lots of strength in Bitcoin. ETH is tanking. Alts are, I almost want to change this to, what is it? Not others, but BTCT. I forgot what it was. I'll come back to that. Anyway, there's another one. There's another dominance chart that I think maybe is a little bit more useful here in terms of paying attention to alts. But regardless, the big thing is really the ETH Bitcoin thing. And so let's go back to this. And this here is ugly. Remember, like last week, well, let's look at the week first. Last week we had kind of punched back above it. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I've been watching the monthly candles, as we know, on here. And I was surprised that it closed the month above this, but nevertheless, it still looked ugly because it had filled in most of this gap, where it had previously just wicked down. But it did come back up. It closed above it, and then just boom, bottom fell out again. And now it's even low. It's set an even lower low on the monthly, which is not good. So I gotta think that we're headed down to these levels down here. And just, that's, the narrative for sure is with Bitcoin right now. But there's a few out there that are kind of doing some interesting stuff. Solana has broken a bit out of this line, though the jury's still out. I mean, the week is, well, it's Thursday now. It's holding above the bull market support band. It has broken out of this line, but it's obviously, a red week this week after a green week last week. So does it come back down into this range? Does it close back down below this support band? Obviously that remains to be seen. I think this is a decent sign for Solana. Not like it's time to go jump in on Solana, but it's a decent sign that it's showing, decent relative strength against Bitcoin right now, which is I think important. And then if you look at it on the USD, the USD pair, this is interesting to me because this level here, so I drew this range starting way back here on this weekly from this range right here. And this basically it was in this range for, the better part of a year, and then it blew out through it, when we had the FTX crash, and then it struggled to basically get back into this range this whole time since then. And it's been bouncing up and down against the bottom of this range now for the entire year, basically, literally. And again, it was just rejected. And again, we've got, a bearish divergence flag forming on this weekly time frame. So it's really struggling to get above this level, and it just can't catch a bid above it. And it's interesting to see, because right now, again, yes, it's above the bull market support band on the dollar pair too, but until it meaningfully starts closing above this level and getting back up into this range here on the weekly time frame, it's not time to buy. And honestly, I still can see a scenario where it comes down and touches back down here at this $15 level too. That's not that far away. And, you can see it can do that in a week or less. So it's not like it would take a huge market movement for this to happen. I mean, it can do that in a raging bull market, even in the span of a week, as we see here. So, this is like nothing, and it wouldn't take anything to get down here. So that's definitely something I'm looking at. It's like, yes, it's done well. Yes, it's managed to hold above. Like if you kind of make a new range here between here and here, yes, it's held above the kind of the 50% level for almost the entirety of that range, of that time. But yeah, man, I mean, it can't catch a break. It can't catch a bid. So does that mean it gets rejected all the way back down here? I think that's super within the realm of possibility. And I think that would be a really good buying opportunity. And all it would take, is I think Bitcoin to have a big pump or something like that and do a big shakeout, and all the alts would kind of go red, and there's your $15 Solana, which I would potentially be looking to pick up at that point. Obviously, I'd love it if it got back down to the yearly open at $10, but that's not as likely. Obviously, that's a bit of a stretch, but I'll take $15 Solana, sure. A couple other ones that were interesting to me that are still holding pretty strong. This Caspa, man, I just don't know what to do with it. So like, it had a pretty big bearish divergence flag come up, a while back in August. But usually, I mean, like when you think of weekly big multi-number bearish divergence flags, you think of like, this here, this, like this guy, this is how often this happens. And usually when you get something like this, you get something like this. And so when you come back here and you look at this, it basically just came back down. It basically just mean reverted on the weekly, and boom, right back up to the top of the bands. Yeah, it's got another one now, an even stronger signal. It's got a 5 spot instead of a 3. And even on the Bitcoin pair, it's putting them up here too. But it's just not fading. I mean, it's just continuing to show strength. Again, not something that I'm saying, okay, go buy now, but like, this is what I'm going to be looking for. And right now, this is showing me the goods. So, and I got another one here. This INJ, same kind of deal. Holding strength on both charts, USD and Bitcoin chart, fading these weekly bearish divergence flags. I mean, this one was a 7 spot, big sell signal. All it did was just a basic mean reversion back to the 20-week moving average, back to the bull market support band, and then boom, right back up to the top of the bands on the weekly. And so like, this is showing strength. And now we've even got like, a bullish divergence to the upside here. So this is another one, and it's way up on Bitcoin and USD on the year. And this isn't like a micro cap either. This is a pretty decent project. I don't remember exactly where it is. I want to say it's in the top 50. I'd have to go back and double check, but nevertheless, like this is interesting to me. And I think there was one more, this one too, although admittedly, I don't know a ton about this project. And honestly, I only looked at it because some clown on Twitter was like, this one's going to do a 350X. And of course I'm like, well, I'll bite. I'll pull up the chart at least. You got me to stop what I'm doing and look at the chart. And I'll admit the chart's interesting. And I'll admit that, yeah, it's way up on the year. But granted, it's only been out this year. But it's, it peaked out back in May and has effectively just gone sideways for 5 months. And but even on its Bitcoin pair, it's holding well. It's holding above the bull market support band. It's kind of pushing. It's almost pushing, higher highs here on both pairs. And meanwhile, everything else is very ugly, but this is just like, like what? So, this one's interesting too, because it is a micro cap. It's very small. And so it potentially has a lot to gain. Obviously, I'm not touching anything right now, but if this continues to hold up, certainly if this breaks out in the short term, I might take a punt, but this is something that I might look to buy a bag of, in another month or 2 or 3 from now, if this chart still looks like this, around that time, once we see kind of the market. I feel like, I've been saying, I feel like we kind of have one more big kind of flush coming. And so I'm going to be looking for that. And so I feel like it's just kind of a waste I've been bitten too many times loading up on alts this early in the cycle, even in this very cycle, and watching them just kind of bleed for months against Bitcoin. Granted, they're only very small positions. I'm not stupid. I'm not like putting all my money in these microcap alts, but still, like, just wait, be patient. Like we've seen in past cycles, it's very, very plausible and possibly even likely that the best performing tokens of this current cycle don't even exist yet, or if they do, they're just barely on the radar. Maybe this one is one of them. But like, your Solanas and your bigger ones, I mean, granted, Solana's fine, but whatever. All your bigger large cap alts, they're not going to be the ones that do a 100x, from here. They've already got multi-billion-dollar market caps in a lot of cases. And so it's these smaller ones that you want to look for to kind of take calculated risks with. But this is the kind of criteria that I'll be looking for, is something that's continuing to just show solid strength and continuing to do well. So what else? Like, well, yeah, this Unibot is a perfect example of one that I bought way too early. Again, with just a little bit, it's fine. But it's bled out, more than 50% since my buy, and not because it's a bad project necessarily, but just because this is what you get for buying alts at this point in the cycle, especially little microcap alts at this point in the cycle. Yeah, you can get lucky and you can have a Caspa here that is up 7x on Bitcoin, but there's a very small handful of projects that have done that. Most of them are going to do what this Unibot's doing here. I mean, it had this massive pump up right out of the gate, and then it's just kind of leveling off and fizzling out. And eventually it'll find its bottom, and eventually it'll come back up, most likely. And so it's fine. I didn't buy this to trade it to hold it for a week, so whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Is that it? What else do we got? Is there anything else? Just kind of, let's see. What's, so the Dixie's doing, what did stocks end up doing today? Stocks, I'm surprised. I checked them earlier this morning. They were more in the red. They've kind of recovered a little bit. They're all still down on the day, basically flat. So yeah, this isn't, I mean, all we have is, again, just kind of a blip in liquidity, and not much else. A blip in the liquidity, a blip in the Dixie here. And, whatever. This is cool. I don't know if I touched on this the other day on Monday. So this is the Purchasing Managers Index. We had another uptick, which was good. It went from 47 something, I think, to up to 49. And 50 is when things really start to, swing up. So this is something I'm paying attention to, but this is a good positive direction, positive development, as opposed to it, kind of mucking around back down here at the bottom and going zigzaggy. So it's nice to see, because generally you can see, if you look at previous years, not counting this COVID crash, if you look at previous years, usually once it gets this much sort of momentum going on, it's pretty much off to the races. I mean, yeah, you can have a bit of a correction here, but it didn't set a new low. And here, yeah, it had a correction here too. Also didn't set a new low. And so, this is a good sign. This is what you want to see. So I'll take it. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's about it. That's about it today. Kind of, again, just wait and see. Put this back on the daily. So yeah, what I'm going to be looking for really is a weekly close above this level, the top of this band here, the 20-week moving average, or a weekly close below this red line here. And then we'll kind of just take it from there. If we close above here on the weekly, that's going to, it's going to give me pause a little bit. Do I still think we're headed down? Yes. But this tells me if we close above here on the weekly, this is going to tell me that we might be in for, you know, a run up into this area here. Like I said, a run up into the 29s, that I may opt to play, just kind of on a more scalpy kind of short-term level with just a chunk. I don't think it's something I'm going to go all in on yet. And then conversely, if we close below this level, I think it's, you know, we're going to come back down to here, and then we'll see where we go in terms of coming back down to this level here. So that's what I'm paying attention to. That's what I'll be looking at over the weekend. Yeah. So I guess we'll see. We'll see where things look on Monday, and we'll go from there. So have a good weekend, everybody, and I'll follow up on Monday. All right.